Sound check. I hope you all can hear me this morning. I've simplified my mic situation, and I hope this helps. So, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me today? Hello, hello. Anybody there? Yes. Thank you, Allie. And hi, Colleen, with your new name. Hmm. Good morning, people. I'm Reverend Peter Panagore, and welcome to Not Church, where we. Let's do this. That's a little better. Hi, everyone. Good morning, people. I'm Reverend Peter Panagore, and welcome to Not Church, where we explore mystical Christianity and more live interpretation through a lens of near-death experience. Experience, not doctrine, and no dogma or belief. My hope is that you will be transformed, not by what you believe, but by the presence of the holy living among us here and now, right now. So let's take a couple of minutes here to rest ourselves in the beloved peace. And if you're new here, welcome. And we begin with a truth that you are holy and divine, made of the same substance of God, and that you are a child of God, and that you're born in the image of the divine. And that is the isness of all being, already lives inside you. To see heaven within, go within. To see heaven without, outside, go within. So meditation is an intention of the turning of the heart toward the oneness of being, of aiming the heart at heaven. And so let's spend a moment together, everybody, and close your eyes, feet on the floor, relax your face, relax your shoulders, relax your feet and your legs, relax your back, breathe into your belly. In through your nose and hold and exhale. And now, chant on your own. On Sunday mornings, we seek to help you on your journey by illuminating the mystical mysteries hidden inside the teachings of the mystical genius, Jesus, and today by using an ancient Zen parable. And here's the story. A big, tough samurai monk, starting over, read what's in front of me. A big, tough samurai once went to see a little monk. Monk, he barked in a voice accustomed to instant obedience, teach me about heaven and hell. The monk looked up at the mighty warrior and replied with utter disdain, teach you about heaven and hell? I couldn't teach you about anything. You're dumb. You're dirty. You're a disgrace, an embarrassment to the samurai class. Get out of my sight. I can't stand you. The samurai got furious. Oh, he shook with rage. His face was red. He was speechless. He pulled out his sword and prepared to slay the monk. Looking straight into the samurai's eyes, the monk said softly, "That's hell." The samurai froze, realizing the compassion of the monk who had risked his all to show him hell, he put down his sword and fell to his knees, filled with gratitude. The monk said softly, "And that's heaven." Near-death experience isn't something that happened to a person. It's something that happens to a person. It's always present, always happening. It's an ongoing experience of the presence of heaven here and now that brings many of us to compassion and gratitude. To live with my death experience is to be in a constant state of realization that the essence of heaven is always present in the here and now. Heaven is always imminent and always transcendent, always reachable and always beyond. The ineffable is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. This means that center is inside of you, and your potential is unlimited. Right where you are, right now. Tap into the center. Jesus says in the Gospel of Mark, "Good news, everyone. Heaven is very near." Meaning heaven, it is here now. It is present right now. The time is now. It's not in the future in some eschatological age of apocryphal end times. The presence of heaven is always here. It's always in the world. Return, he says. Repent, transform, change. Awaken from your sleep. In Thomas, Jesus offers what no physical eye has seen, no ear heard, no hand touched, and no mind grasped. The royal realm of heaven is within and available to all who seek it with prayer, with compassion, with action from their hearts. This wisdom is an innate conviction, an experience and perception of truth that transcends rather than evades reason. Wisdom, understanding, noetic knowledge, they all rest beyond reason. And reason can never attain the certainty of the presence of heaven in the here and now. But it can be felt. It can be understood and experienced and known within the soul. And if I say to you, a fresh fig is the most mouth-watering and luscious sweet fruit on earth, fresh from the tree, you may or may not believe me or agree with me, but you will never know for sure for yourself until you experience it, until you taste it for yourself. You won't find your answers in books or in knowledge. We only find it by awakening to the presence that is already here along with us, inside us, and has always been with us here all along. If we awaken to the futility of anger, fear, and hate, and find inside ourselves instead compassion, gratitude and humility, then we won't be provoking anger and hate in public. The monk provoked the samurai. The samurai flashed in anger, ready to kill. Now, who do you want to be? The samurai with the raised sword, ready to kill for belief, for self-understanding or misunderstanding? Or the samurai who sees himself in the humility through the eyes of compassion of the monk and kneels gratefully? What part will you play in the conflicts of life? I see so much hate and anger in Facebook, and I read so much about it in the news. The divides are so wide. So I ask, what's your choice? Hell within or heaven within? Which do you bring to your interactions? Which do you want to bring to your interactions? Hate or compassion? The more of us that brings compassion, the more of us who bring compassion, the quicker the healing, the better the understanding. What's your choice? If you need or want to talk to somebody about your spiritual experiences or about your choices, then I'm your guy. And you can visit me at peterpanagore.love to contact me. Please subscribe or like this video if what I say resonates with you, if you feel the presence inside yourself. I want to give thanks to David and Sybil and Sommer for your gifts this morning, and for all those who support my work through PayPal at peterpanagore.love. And seriously, every little bit keeps me going. So thanks. So compassion and hatred, humility and the willingness to die. Jesus talks a lot about dying. The tradition of mystical Christianity talks a lot about the dying of the self, the little death. To die the little death is the opening door to heaven and compassion. The samurai that day died a little death. Instead of killing the monk, he saw the truth. He saw the truth of compassion inside himself. And he sunk to his knees, a changed man. If the monk had told him about heaven and told him about hell, how much would the samurai have seen or understood? It's not what we know about those things. It's about what our experience of them are and what we bring to our society in general. The real thing is that hate and anger are dark, destructive forces of division. And compassion, gratefulness, and humility are eternal truths. We all get so stuck in this world, so self-righteous about our belief systems. It reminds me of Dr. Seuss's Better Butter Battle Book. Which side of the bread do you butter your toast on? It's so easy to point at the other and say, evil, darkness. But evil and darkness shows itself, themselves, in action, in the destruction of property and the attack on people. We're not in an easy space in this country. But we are always able to tap into the divine inside ourselves if we choose to. And for those who go around preaching hate and division, who curse those who curse them, where is Christ in your heart? Where is love and compassion? If you preach hate and destruction, there's only darkness there. What's your choice? Heaven or hell? They start within us, and we carry them out into the world and with us into death. That's my little talk for today, my friends. I hope that worked for you. Thanks, Mary. So I noticed someone say, what a fancy professional microphone. This is my radio voice. When I did an FM show for 14 or 15 years, I kept my voice very modulated within certain vocal ranges and also in volume. This is my radio mic. I wasn't using it for the longest time because I couldn't figure out why it wasn't coming across in two speakers to people. I finally figured that out on my end. So I'm back to my favorite mic, this Electrovox PL20 that was handed down to me. It must be a 40-year-old mic, I bet. So, my friends, what would you like to talk about today? And thank you, Alfred, and thank you, Charles. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate your help very much. So, my friends, if you have a question or a comment, hi, Vicky. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Lois. Such a deep talk this morning. Impressive, lovely, spoken. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, David. I'd love to have a chat with you all if you have things to chat about this today. I appreciate you all bearing with me last week with microphone issues. I obviously worked this over a little bit and simplified my process. Connie says, that's why I'm no longer on Facebook. Too much hate. Yeah, there's so much hate in the world. I've been thinking about the Facebook problem all week. Oh my gosh, can't even talk. I've been thinking about the Facebook problem all week. It hasn't stopped, and it surprises me that so many so-called spiritual people are caught up in it. It's like an addiction that people can't let go. Yeah, I feel myself way backing away from all of the turmoil. I can't really change any of it. I can only work inside myself, stay connected to the divine inside myself, and continue on my path, aiming toward compassion and humility and gratitude, and not let other people's poison my heart with hatred or anger. Charles got off Facebook because he couldn't trust myself not to be saying something hateful. That's wisdom, Charles. Yep. I've made most of my posts private or friends, and I have also, when a conversation heads in the dark direction, I simply make it go private so that I can stop that kind of talk, at least on my wall. Jim, this is wonderful and moving teaching this morning. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Inspired and required. Inspired, not required offering. Thank you, Colleen, whose real name is now showing. Thanks, Colleen, about that. I appreciate it. Um, I'm coming from I'm coming over for cookies and hugs. Colleen from New Hampshire. Just wear your mask. Let's see, what else can I see? Better Butter Battle book. Oh yeah, what a great book. I'm a big Dr. Seuss fan. Amanda Gorman's poem captured the transformation and invitation for us all. Can we see the light and be the light? Says Lee. That was quite the poem. So did you notice that everything inspirational that happened at the inauguration was all out of the arts and spirituality? It was all rooted in our spirituality and poetry and music and song. Wow. We all have it. We do. We just got to tap it. I keep on being less than I want to be. I am glad I have a well to come to fill back up on the spirit of love, says Kristen. That spirit, that well, really, truly is inside you. And if you taste it here, if you drink from it here on Sunday mornings, it's because you already have a cup in your hand and you're standing at the edge of your own well. Just keep dipping that cup, keep drinking that water of life. It satisfies like nothing else can. No thing can. I keep on being less. All right, Better Butter Battle book. Got it from the library for my kids when they were little, and it took it back the next day. It was so unsettling, so truthful. Dr. Seuss never pulled punches. I had to get away from Facebook because I felt it was absorbing the hate energy. You were absorbing the hate energy, and you're so much better now. Yeah, it's easy to absorb the hate energy. Notice how the monk didn't absorb the hate energy. Why is that? What makes him different from us? He found inside himself the compassion well, the well of compassion. And when you can sink into that, you don't get caught up in all of the hate so much. That's why it's so important. Facebook brings out the judge in me, and it's a struggle. Yeah. How do you not judge another person? By seeing their own flaws as yours, by seeing the light within yourself so that you see it inside the other. It's not a theoretical thing. I don't force myself to do it. I don't choose to do it. I don't make myself do it. I don't believe in it. I look to the interior to see the light itself, and the light itself shows me the light inside the others. And when you see the light inside the others, you also see your own brokenness, which is the same brokenness they have. That's where compassion arises from, and humility. They come from the same spot. Love. Keep digging that well. Keep digging that well inside yourself. You'll tap into that true life, that stream of living water. It's right there in front of you, right there inside you. Let's see. Oh, Wanda, maybe that's why it's not one of his top sellers. Could be. Talking about the Better Battle book. Solitude indeed beckons. A bit blustery in the woods today. Yeah, be careful in those blustery woods. Watch out for those falling branches. Facebook is a struggle, brings out the judge, right? A low frequency. Fear is also a low frequency, fear and hate. Through prayer and meditation, it can be shifted into others. We can all raise the frequency and shift the awakening of humanity, says Ali. Yeah, well, that's what we're after. by making the frequency rise inside ourselves, it vibrates out to others. And the same is true of hate and fear. Vibrate that out, that's what you get. Vibrate out the frequency of light and love, that's what you get. As a society, all over the world. Be with us, O holy mystery of love, prayed the Catholic priest. Be with us, O holy mystery of love, at the inauguration. I loved that line. Thank you, capital 12831. I'll be able to pray. I pray to be able to spill my love and peace to others. There are some who are still bitter. You can't change people. You can't make them unbitter or make them not hate. You can only bring love. And there's not a whole lot of room for reasoning either. That only leaves love and compassion. And working together on potholes, on fixing sidewalks, on the things where we can agree and get to know our neighbors personally. The monk was the observer, like we ought to be. Yeah, the monk was the observer. Colleen, good point. Although he did speak unkindly to the samurai, He forced the samurai into a hell. The defenseless monk forced the samurai to see hell. But the samurai was ready to see hell and understood the opposition of the monk's humility and compassion as the counterpoint. It was a dangerous ploy the monk used. And I don't see that succeeding in today's society. I don't think provoking the bear with a stick is a good idea. Because most people aren't ready to see humility sitting right in front of them, or compassion either. So instead, just bring the compassion, not the stick. How do we deal with the pain from other people, like in the Zen story? How do we get rid of the need to resist? That is really the best question, because that is the crux of the problem. You have to die to yourself. The monk's success was because he saw himself as compassion. The samurai saw only his self. He was attached to his judgments. He saw, I'm not dirty, I'm not dumb, I'm not shameful. If he had said those same things to the monk, if the samurai had said those to the monk would not have been stirred, because his ego was not present. Meditation, centering prayer, seeing yourself in the presence of the divine, seeing the divine in the presence of the other, the little death of the self. That's how we do it. And it's not easy and it's not a shortcut. But we can always choose to act with compassion, to take a breath before we speak. Better to be silent and say nothing than provocative with no end other than anger and resistance and resentment. He did that so the samurai could experience hell. Without it, he couldn't experience heaven. Yeah, there's the old opposite again. You got to have one to have the other. Got to have one to see the other. For today's sermon, I was working with Psalm 62. For you alone, God, my soul waits in silence. Right there in the Psalms. For you alone, O God, my soul awaits in silence. not with a little chatter of who I am and what I think, but just the quietude of the heart. That's where compassion arises and humility begins. Humility begins. Uh, Neat for one to pray as we try to gain peace within and gain compassion so we can then move forward in love with the filling of our wells. Amazing words to pray, says Lee. Stardust, LOL, you're on fire today. You made me laugh out loud with the bear and the stick analogy. Some folks, instead of complaining about potholes, plant flowers in them. That is totally true. I've seen that. That's totally true. It's funny too. Um, until we learn the difference between reaction and response, we continue to be in hell and all its guises. Oh, wisdom. Yeah, the samurai reacted instead of giving thoughtful response, which is what happened after he gave. After he reacted, he had some thoughtful response. The question I have this morning is, can you really ever change anyone's beliefs? Should you even try? Please remember to like. Thanks, Capital. Nelson Mandela said that provoking is not kind. Yeah, provoking isn't kind. Mm-mm. The monk took his life in his hands when he did that. All right, my friends. I've never intended Not Church to run on and on and on. Shorter is always better. So this week we're a half hour long, and I think that's great. We're going to be at my Zoom room, which you can find at peterpanagore.love, for Not Church, for Mystic Tea Salon, coming up at the top of the hour, and you're all welcome to that. I hope to see you there. We'll continue our discussion and find out what else is on your minds. Let's see. The monk seems to have changed the samurai's belief. He did seem to change the samurai's belief at risk of his own life. Are you willing to sacrifice your life to make that kind of change in another person? The monk did do that. But the samurai was ready. That's a good point, John. Only if asked, then a discussion may help. Yes. Oddly, I stumbled across that parable this week. Great to have it discussed here, says Wendy. How can I know that their afterlife is real? Well, you could watch any number of the probably 3 or 5,000 videos on YouTube about near-death experience. But you're not going to be able to know that until you taste it for yourself. Because all of us who've been there, we don't believe it. We know it through experience. And if I could give it to you, I would. If I could show it to you in its fullness, I would. Maybe you'll have a visitation from the dead. Someone you love, God rest that person's soul, may come to you and show you that they are not dead, with love and compassion. But I can't convince you. I can only tell my story. And we can only tell our stories. But we can also experience the divine presence among each other and together. And that buzz inside our hearts, and that warmth in our palms, that tingle in our foreheads, that vibration in our throats. If I could show it to you, I would. It's been my goal all along. No matter how bear-like people are in Christ, I am not hurtable, so I feel no need to respond when that's the intent. Thank you, particularly helpful in these times. Yep. As a teacher, I had an experience where I knew a child was being physically abused. I did all I could, called social services. It was also painful for my soul. I had to leave the school. Oh, yeah. Yep. You got to protect the kids. That's for sure. Thank you, Lisa. At Peter Pan, at Pan, the way you know love is real. I wish I could have done more. It broke me. It still does. Allie, I hear you. I had a next door neighbor once. I was a young pastor, first out of divinity school, post near death experience. I should have called the cops one time. I didn't. But since then, I have. You won't do that again, Allie. You'll help where you can. Can't change the past. The samurai sought out the monk. The monk didn't go out to try to change the samurai. He responded to what and who came to him, right? I feel like I abandoned his pain. May he have found love inside himself. May he have risen above those abusive strikes or words that landed in his body or in his mind. Better are you who have not seen and believed. Yeah. Belief can lead to realization. What do people mean when they say afterlife is more real than real? I don't understand. Well, it's a tough thing to explain because I was trying to get to that with the fig experience. You know, people can taste the fig and know that it's real, or they can think about what a fig might taste like and believe that it's real. The difference between those two things is similar to the difference between the reality here and the reality there. I agree, though. It is more real there than here. That is real. This is not. This is so temporary. Passing through, not a permanent thing. Temporality, time. Let's see. He wrote a note saying how he thought I was such a wonderful teacher because I cared, but it hurt, and I couldn't stay to be with him. You helped him along the way, Allie. You did what you could. You did what you could, and he appreciated it. You can't fix everything, I'm sorry to say. All right, my friends. Never had a fresh fig, but I love seeing how others who have eaten one describe it. Yeah, fresh figs. Oh my God, right off the tree. Outrageously delicious. I felt abandoned when the residents, when you left to administration, didn't want to hear the truth. Well, sometimes you have to save yourself. That if you can't fix the problem and it's eating you up, sometimes you have to save yourself to go on to save another day. So if you had to walk away, you did. and there was not much you could do about changing the situation. It was just hurting you. Of course, it's still hurting you too, apparently. Imagine looking through a dark glass and then seeing without it. That's a good example for real versus not real. Hey, my friends. All right. I don't want to drag this out. It's 10:40, and I'm going to say peace and love to you all. I'll see you at the top of the hour. If you want to join us over on YouTube, what am I saying? On Zoom, peterpanagore.love. Under programs, you'll find the link and the password. I hope you join us. Bring your comments and questions. It's an open forum for conversation. Mystic Tea Salon. I want to thank everyone for your help this week, for the gifts that you gave to make this not church still be alive, as we're now a little more than 6 months into it. Thanks, everybody. Peace and love to you all. Namaste. God is love. See ya.